Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, a monster winter storm turns deadly. Snow, ice, and brutal cold, tens of millions of Americans impacted this weekend. The storm stretching more than 1,500 miles, nearly half the country under a state of emergency.
I'm Chanel Call in New York, where crews are racing to clear the streets in the nation's biggest city.
Travel treacherous, tractor trailers colliding, thousands of flights canceled.
I'm Jason Allen in Oklahoma City, which is digging out from snow, while in other cities across the South, power outages are skyrocketing.
I'm meteorologist Rob Marciano in Midtown New York, where the snow has turned to sleet. I'll have the timing of the storm and what's coming next.
Also tonight, Minneapolis on edge. New details emerge about the latest fatal shooting involving federal agents as anti-ICE protests intensify.
I'm Lana Zach in Minneapolis. What we are learning about the man who was killed here. The Trump administration calling him a terrorist. Tonight, his family is demanding truth.
Plus, reaching for the top. An American climber summits a skyscraper without any ropes. And later, it's the last dance at Sundance, why the Independent Film Festival is bidding farewell to Park City, Utah, and its founder, Robert Redford.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Jerika Duncan.
David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, new developments on two major stories. The dangerous winter storm with nearly 200 million Americans in its grip, sprawling from New Mexico to England. Outrage after federal agents shot and killed another American citizen in Minneapolis. State emergency. Some buried under a foot of snow. Drivers are being urged to stay off the roads as trucks spin out on frozen highways. Janae Norman reports from Boston. Power lines and trees snap under all that ice. More than 1 million customers are without electricity in the South, and tornado warnings in Georgia. Morgan Norwood is in Dallas, where drivers were left stranded on a freeway after leaving an NBA game at the height of the storm. Snowplows fill the streets of America's largest city. Lee Johnson reports from here in New York, where at least 5 people have died in the cold. And there's major concern over the ride to work on Monday. More than 10,000 flights canceled just today. Gio Benitez on when air traffic will recover. And no relief in the forecast. Our weather team on what comes next. Escalating tensions in Minneapolis after the second shooting death at an ICE protest. Trevor Ault reports the Trump administration initially called the victim Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist who intended to attack law enforcement. Aaron Katursky on the videos that appear to contradict that assertion. Police say Preddy had a gun, but an agent is seen on video apparently removing it before multiple shots were fired. President Trump says the Minneapolis protests are just a cover-up for financial fraud in Minneapolis. Tonight, several top Republicans have joined the call for an independent investigation, and we're learning more about Preddy, an ICU nurse at an VA hospital. Also tonight, wild video shows robbery suspects busting into a jewelry store, scooping up jewelry.
Meanwhile, fallout this morning continues after another fatal shooting by Department of Homeland Security agents in Minnesota on Saturday. U.S. Border Patrol shot and killed an individual in Minnesota after they said he approached agents and he was armed with a handgun and he resisted when officers tried to disarm him. The incident, the second fatal shooting in Minnesota after agents shot and killed Rachel Good on January 7th. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz called the shooting horrific on social media, and he is calling on the White House to stop its immigration operation in Minnesota. Joining me now is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me, Maria.
Another individual is dead at the hands of Border Patrol. Let's be clear. We do not know if there was any pushback from this individual who was armed. We do not have evidence that he was waving a gun, doing anything to threaten Border Patrol. He had his phone and he was shooting, he was viewing and recording the incident. That's what he was doing, recording the incident. What is your reaction? And you are an elected official. What can you do about it?
Well, look, I don't think there's any question a majority of Americans want President Trump and ICE to go in and apprehend the criminal illegals. That's what President Trump campaigned on, and he's doing exactly what he said. I look at what happened in Minneapolis versus what happened in Washington, D.C. When President Trump sent the National Guard into Washington, D.C., the Mayor Muriel Bowser, supported that. She worked, her local law enforcement worked with the president, and in a short period of time, they have really been successful in reducing the amount of crime in Washington, D.C. That was a big success. Fast forward to where we are in Minneapolis. We have a governor, an attorney general, and a mayor of Minneapolis who are getting people jacked up, trying to get them, convinced that this is, some type of illegal raid, that all their lives are threatened, and they've got all these white liberals coming in, trying to run over ICE, trying to, spray them and do everything to disrupt. And if I were President Trump, I would almost think about, okay, if the mayor and the governor are going to put our ICE officials in harm's way, and there's a chance of losing more, innocent lives or whatever, then maybe go to another city and let the people of Minneapolis decide, do we want to continue to have all of these illegals? Are we going to allow our governor, attorney general, and mayor to get away with this? And I think the people of Minnesota would rebel against their leadership, because it's very clear that a majority of Americans want the criminal illegals apprehended, and that's what ICE is trying to do.
Do we know that ICE saw the...
Sunday night, a polar vortex brings parts of Canada to a bone-chilling standstill. A massive snowstorm cancels flights and plans.
You're getting blown around here.
Yes. How the nation's biggest city is coping with the blizzard. The Prime Minister on Donald Trump's tariff threats. What the Liberals and Conservatives are focused on with Parliament resuming Monday. Conflicting accounts of the second deadly shooting by U.S. federal officials in Minneapolis.
Any of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota.
Now, how this latest death could lead to a full government shutdown. And ready to leave. New polling and what's fueling Albertans' desire for independence.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Colleen Christie.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A polar vortex that's brought bitterly cold temperatures to much of Canada is now slamming the country's biggest city, with a blizzard being called historic. Toronto is under an orange alert as severe snowfall causes treacherous conditions for the city and the surrounding region, prompting all Toronto schools to be closed on Monday. Today, more than half the flights at Pearson International were cancelled, with a chain reaction across the country. That's on top of the more than 10,000 flights cancelled in the U.S. as the storm causes chaos there as well. We begin our coverage tonight with Sean O'Shea in Toronto. Sean.
Colleen, forecasters called this storm and they got it right. Extreme cold temperatures, gusty winds, and significant snowfall, likely the most we've seen all winter. More than enough snow to cause problems in Canada's biggest city. A Sunday snowfall blanketing the city with white. What do you think of the weather?
Oh, I think it's really cold. Yeah, really cold, and this part is windy.
A storm people were told was coming. Getting blown around here.
Yes.
But you're out. You're enjoying it?
Yeah, enjoying it a little bit, but it's definitely affecting our lives.
Those who needed to get somewhere faced delays, whether on public transit or in vehicles. Road conditions included whiteouts. Police urged drivers to stay off highways if possible, but the OPP shared they've already received 100 calls for collisions and another 100 calls for cars getting stuck in these snowy conditions over the past 24 hours across the GTHA. The snow forced all kinds of cancellations, but not the scheduled NHL game between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Colorado Avalanche. Not showing up was not an option for this man.
We're here in Toronto, Canada. As always, this is expected weather. I came down by train. Let somebody else.
Dogs start Sunday 7:30 on ABC and ABC iView.
Today, rallies and welcomes. People mark Australia Day at events across the country. Residents in fire zones warned to stay alert as a severe heat wave moves over the south and east of the country. Hundreds continue to protest the latest killing by US Border Patrol agents in icy conditions in Minneapolis. Australian Open defending champion Madison Keys knocked out by fellow American Jess Pegula in straight sets. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. Australia Day is being marked at events across the country. Rallies and celebrations are being held in major cities, apart from Adelaide, where searing heat wave has led to events being cancelled. In Melbourne and Sydney, thousands of people have taken part in Invasion Day rallies. First Nations people in attendance say today is a day of mourning, and organisers are calling for the date of Australia Day to be changed. Meanwhile, anti-immigration rallies are being held in multiple cities. There are restrictions on gatherings in parts of Sydney under new police powers in the wake of the Bondi terror attack. And on the shores of Lake Burley Griffin in Canberra, the country welcomed its newest citizens. Almost 19,000 people are officially becoming Australians at ceremonies right across the country.
Congratulations.
Whether we are Australian by birth or by choice, we all share the opportunity, the privilege, but also the responsibility of being part of something quite extraordinary. A nation built with hope and hard work, with aspiration and determination. A society guided by freedom and fairness, compassion and courage.
Heat has also been a major factor for many people today as a severe heat wave settles over large parts of the country. Multiple events have been cancelled in South Australia, where temperatures are forecast to hit the mid to high 40s. Adelaide is expected to reach 45 degrees. The conditions will further hinder firefighting efforts in Victoria, where crews are struggling to contain multiple bushfires.
Africa News. The news.
The wife of Ugandan opposition leader Bobi Wine has been speaking to journalists from her hospital bed in Kampala after soldiers came to her home looking for her husband. Barbara Itungu Kyagulanyi said she was held at gunpoint and strangled during the raid.
That same man held me by my hair, lifted me up. We have poles in the sitting room, and hit my head on the pole and slit my mouth. So when he hit me, he pulled me down and sat me down. Then he pushed my head and I went down, and they sat on me. I could feel 4 bodies seated on me. Then he said, "Will you give me the password?" I said again in Munyankore, "You have already done enough. You are not getting the password."
Bobi Wine went into hiding after last week's presidential election. Yoweri Museveni won a 7th term in office, a result Wine denounced as blatant theft. Museveni's son, who heads the country's army, has vowed to hunt down Wine and kill him.
One of the main reasons was to look for my husband, because his phone has been home. I switched it on yesterday because there is a password I was looking for. And then that was like at around 3. So I think they got a signal of his phone and then they were sure he was home. But he had left his phone behind.
Wine's lawyer has called on the international community to demand immediate, verifiable guarantees of Wine's safety and ensure that he can return to his family without harm.
They came to terrorize me, to put me in this situation so that wherever my husband is, he can come out. I want to encourage him to stay wherever he is. I am okay. I can take care of myself. And the other thing, they came to steal our property because they stole everything valuable that we have. I wasn't long.
Observers said the election was marred by an internet shutdown lasting days and the repression of the opposition. UN Chief Antonio Guterres has said he's following the situation with concern.
Hello and a very good morning to you. This is Sky News. These are your latest headlines. Actions have consequences. Federal officials defend their agents following the shooting of Alex Pretty in Minneapolis. They say he was killed because officers feared for their lives, but state officials say videos of the incident speak for themselves. Also this morning, Burnham blocked the Mayor of Greater Manchester is barred from the by-election that could have set up a Labour leadership challenge. Britain's FBI, the Home Secretary, unveils her plan to fix policing. Don't look down, a freestyle climber scales a skyscraper in Taiwan without any ropes. And on a busy day of Premier League football, leaders Arsenal lose a 5-goal thriller at home to Manchester United. Hello and a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Sky News. The man leading Donald Trump's immigration crackdown has claimed Saturday's fatal shooting in Minneapolis could have been avoided if the victim had made different choices. Alex Pretty, a 37-year-old intensive care nurse, was shot and killed during a confrontation with federal agents. The Trump administration says the officers feared for their lives. Minnesota officials say the videos of the incident speak for themselves and have demanded the immigration agents are withdrawn from their state. Our US correspondent Martha Kellner reports from Minneapolis.
Alex Pretty was on his knees in this very spot when he was shot dead by immigration officers. Now people fall to the ground to grieve for him, the intensive care nurse killed while trying to resist the ongoing crackdown on migrants in Minneapolis.
I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling unsafe. And I'm feeling confused because it's all so senseless. It's all so senseless.
How much is enough? How many more people have to die? And to the rest of the world, don't come here. They're having the World Cup here, don't come. Boycott it. Boycott the Olympics. I don't care.
This video shows Pretty being held on the ground and struck several times with what looks like the butt of a gun. Shot once, then again, and again, and again. At least 10 times within 5 seconds. From another angle, you can see federal agents crowding Pretty. He's on his knees. One officer approaches him empty-handed. The same officer runs away with a gun in his hand, moments before you hear any shots. This video shows the aftermath as Pretty's body is being searched. One officer asks, "Where's the gun? Where's the effing gun?" Another officer a few meters away responds, "I have the gun." Pretty had a license to carry in Minnesota, where it is legal. It seemed he had already been disarmed when he was shot, yet the Trump administration continues to claim, with no evidence, that he was a domestic terrorist.
He was the greatest.
Buffy worked in a hospital alongside Alex Pretty.
He was just a funny, kind guy. very dedicated, caring person. So,
how does it make you feel knowing how he died?
Yeah, that's pretty hard. We've been under this state of attack for weeks. I'm paranoid when I drive around, checking vehicles all the time.
In case it's ICE agents inside.
Yeah, in case it's ICE agents, trying to figure out, is that suspicious or is it just someone that lives in Minnesota? It's a constant state of fear. I would say it's an occupation.
Immigration officers have been in Minneapolis for just over a month now. In that time, 2 American citizens have been shot dead. A Venezuelan man was shot in the leg, and a car full of children have been tear-gassed. It's becoming incredibly tricky for anyone to claim this operation is successful. But Greg Bovino, the man in charge of Border Patrol here, is insistent that his officers are doing a good job.
So let's think of what those agents were doing on that scene, making a split-second decision. You had 24 hours to try and armchair quarterback things. That agent had a split second to make a decision. When individuals make poor choices, poor decisions, come into a law enforcement situation.
Arrest them! I just had 7 AK-47s pointed in my face an hour ago. Do something!
Local investigators from Minneapolis finally arrived at the scene 24 hours after Pretty's killing. They said they had previously been blocked from the probe by the federal government's Department of Homeland Security. Excuse me, sir, has this crime scene been preserved as it usually would have been in this sort of case?
I can't comment on that.
Have you now got full access to the scene?
We're just here to try to do what we can right now.
Politicians from both sides of the aisle are now demanding an independent investigation. Usually, state and federal bodies would work together in situations like this. Normal rules no longer apply. Martha Kellner.
This is Asia Now.
Good afternoon. It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Milakya Silveraji. At this hour, a ferry carrying nearly 360 people aboard sinks in southern Philippines, leaving at least 15 dead, and rescue teams race to find scores still missing. Voting concludes in Myanmar's month-long election with the military-backed party on course for a landslide victory, a result critics warn will prolong the army's grip on power. India gets set to celebrate its 77th Republic Day, the anniversary marking the adoption of the Constitution and breaking from its colonial past. Fears are mounting of more deaths after a ferry sunk in the southern Philippines. Officials say they have found 15 bodies while nearly 30 people are missing. A massive search and rescue effort is currently underway. Images posted by a local governor show survivors being brought to a pier in Basilan province with Coast Guard vessels, Navy ships and aircraft involved in the operation. Nearly 360 people were on board the vessel named Trisha Custin 3, which sank in the early hours of the morning while en route to Holo Island from Zamboanga City. The Coast Guard says the ship issued a distress call about 4 hours after leaving port, and the incident reportedly happened in good weather. Officials say the vessel appeared to have technical problems. A Coast Guard safety officer on board alerted authorities. Sea accidents are said to be common in the Philippines due to various factors, including overcrowding. The Coast Guard said this was not a factor in the sinking.
What I can say is the ship is not overloaded. It has a maximum passenger capacity of 350, and the actual actual passengers on board.
Hello, this is Night Watch here on France 24. The headlines. Former US President Barack Obama says the killing of a man by Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis is a wake-up call, warning that America's core values are under attack. The city mourning the fatal shooting of Alex Petty, but residents are vowing to fight on. Bitter cold in Ukraine. Russian bombardments triggering long daily blackouts, leaving hundreds of buildings in Kyiv without heating. President Volodymyr Zelensky appealing to allies for more air defense support to fight the barrage of Russian drones. And French President Emmanuel Macron pushes to fast-track a ban on social media for children under 15. Macron wants the legislation in force by September, in time for the start of the next school year.
This is DW News, live from Berlin. Outcry over the deadly shooting by immigration agents in the US, putting President Donald Trump's crackdown into question. Politicians and protesters dismiss the official account of what happened as calls grow for an end to Trump's mass deportation raids in US cities. Also coming up, fierce winter weather hits the United States, cutting power to hundreds of thousands of households. Officials warn of a long, drawn-out storm that could have catastrophic effects.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.